a smile that has captivated the world for centuries, machines that could have flown before humans even dreamed of the sky, paintings that reveal the depth of the human soul. Leonardo da Vinci, not just an artist, but a visionary who blurred the line between imagination and reality. How did one man, born in a small Italian town, rise to leave a legacy that still shapes our understanding of art, science, and humanity? The year was 1452 in the rolling hills of Tuscany. Italy was not a unified country, but a patchwork of city-states: Florence, Milan, Venice, each alive with commerce, culture, and ambition. Here the Renaissance was more than an era. It was an awakening. Art flourished. Science challenged old beliefs. Human potential became the ultimate pursuit. And into this vibrant world, Leonardo da Vinci was born, the illegitimate son of a notary, Ser Piero, and a peasant woman, Caterina. From the very beginning, his life seemed destined to be unusual. Lacking social privileges, Leonardo could not inherit wealth or status. Yet he was gifted with a mind that absorbed everything around him. Every sound, every movement, every pattern in nature became a lesson. He watched the flight of birds with fascination, studied the way water flowed in rivers, and traced the shapes of leaves and flowers with a natural precision that would later astonish the world. Even as a child, Leonardo asked questions no one had considered. Why do rivers twist, he might have wondered. How do mussels bend? How can humans fly? These questions were not idle curiosity. They were the seeds of a lifetime devoted to observation, experiment, and invention. Leonardo grew up in Vinci, a small village near Florence. Unlike the bustling city, Vinci offered quiet landscapes that nurtured his observational skills. The environment was rich in natural diversity: rivers, hills, forests, and farm animals. Here he learned to notice small details that would later appear in his art and scientific studies. Italy itself was a land of contrasts. City-states competed fiercely for power, wealth, and prestige. Families like the Medicis in Florence used patronage to attract the brightest minds. Wealth and influence shaped culture, and only the talented or the connected could rise. Leonardo's lack of formal legitimacy could have been a barrier, yet his genius found ways to flourish. His father recognized his talent and sent him to Florence, where Leonardo would apprentice under Andrea del Verrocchio, a master painter and sculptor. Verrocchio's workshop was a crucible of creativity. Here, Leonardo encountered the cutting edge of artistic technique, sculpture, and metalwork. Apprentices learned to paint, cast bronze, carve marble, and design stage sets. More importantly, they learned to see. Leonardo's observational skills, already remarkable, were sharpened to perfection. The Renaissance philosophy of humanism shaped Leonardo's mind. Humanism celebrated the potential of humans to understand the world through reason and observation. Religious authority no longer monopolized knowledge. Scholars and artists turned to nature itself as the ultimate teacher. Leonardo embraced this philosophy wholly. Nature became his laboratory, his mentor, and his canvas. Leonardo never drew a strict line between art and science. To paint a realistic hand, he needed anatomical knowledge. To imagine flying machines, he studied birds and aerodynamics. To sculpt or paint realistic water, he needed to understand physics and fluid motion. Observation and imagination were inseparable for him. His notebooks, some 13,000 pages of sketches and writings, reveal a relentless mind-recording experiments, ideas, and questions. Leonardo's apprenticeship under Verrocchio provided formal training, but his genius was also self-taught. He wandered through the Tuscan countryside, sketching animals, trees, rivers, and rocks with astonishing accuracy. He dissected corpses to understand muscles and bones, often at great personal risk, because cadaver studies were controversial and rare. He experimented with water systems, studying currents, eddies, and the behavior of rivers. By the age of 20, Leonardo's talents had already become apparent. His first independent works, including the Annunciation and early portraits, revealed an uncanny ability to capture light, texture, and human emotion. Patrons were drawn to his work not only for its technical excellence, but for the life it seemed to breathe into canvas and stone. Yet more than artistic skill, Leonardo possessed an insatiable curiosity that drove him beyond the workshop. He was fascinated by mechanics, anatomy, botany, geology, and flight. He sketched flying machines centuries before airplanes existed. He mapped human anatomy with precision far ahead of his time. He questioned everything, from the motion of water to the function of the heart. Each question became a project, each sketch a step toward understanding the universe. Leonardo's upbringing in Vinci shaped his observational skills profoundly. Free to roam hills, woods, and rivers, he learned patience and meticulous attention to detail. He watched animals hunt, fly, and swim. He studied the curvature of tree branches and the ripple of water over rocks. This connection to the natural world became a lifelong source of inspiration. Every painting, every mechanical sketch, and every anatomical study carried echoes of this early immersion in nature. In a small Italian village, amid the hills and rivers, the foundation for extraordinary genius was laid. Leonardo was not born with all the answers. He was born with questions, unending, fearless, and insatiable. Questions that would one day lead him to paint the Mona Lisa, conceptualize helicopters, and reveal the secrets of the human body with unmatched clarity. From humble beginnings, Leonardo da Vinci would rise to become the ultimate embodiment of Renaissance ideals, a man who dared to observe, imagine, and create beyond the limits of his time. And it all began here, in the rolling hills of Vinci, where a boy with curiosity in his eyes would one day change the way the world sees itself. By the time Leonardo returned to Florence from his apprenticeship under Andrea del Verrocchio, the young artist had already begun to distinguish himself. His skill was undeniable. Every brushstroke precise, every gesture realistic, every composition imbued with life. Yet in Florence, genius was never a solitary pursuit. The city was a hub of rivalries, patronage, and political maneuvering, where artists like Botticelli, Ghirlandaio, and later Michelangelo competed fiercely for recognition and commissions. Leonardo's first major commission, The Adoration of the Magi, was both an opportunity and a challenge. The Medici family, Florence's most powerful patrons, had requested the work. The painting demanded not only technical skill, but the ability to convey complex religious narratives with emotional depth. Leonardo approached it as he always did, meticulously. He sketched dozens of preparatory drawings, experimenting with perspective, anatomy, and composition. He placed each figure carefully, studied light and shadow, and imagined the movement of crowds in dynamic interplay. Yet the project was never completed. Political turbulence forced the Medici family to flee Florence temporarily, leaving Leonardo's ambitious vision unfinished. But even in incompletion, the work revealed his emerging genius. Observers marveled at the realism of the figures, the careful geometry of the composition, and the subtle emotional expressions, hinting at the depth Leonardo would later perfect in works like The Last Supper. Florence was a city of vibrant competition. Rivalries among artists were intense. Leonardo's talent did not go unnoticed, and whispers of jealousy followed him. Yet his reputation grew steadily. Patrons from across Italy, impressed by his combination of artistic skill and scientific insight, sought his expertise. By the early 1480s, Milan became his next stage. The Duke of Milan, Ludovico Sforza, invited Leonardo to serve as court artist, engineer, and military consultant. Here, Leonardo's genius could extend beyond painting. He designed intricate stage sets, created engineering plans for canals, bridges, and fortifications, and conceptualized weapons of war, all while continuing to paint. His role was unprecedented. He was not just a painter, but a visionary inventor, a man whose mind embraced both aesthetics and mechanics. Among Leonardo's most ambitious works in Milan was The Last Supper, painted on the wall of the convent of Santa Maria della Grazia. This was no ordinary religious scene. Leonardo infused it with psychological realism, capturing the moment when Jesus reveals that one of his disciples will betray him. Each apostle reacts differently: shock, denial, anger, or sorrow. The composition's depth, perspective, and play of light created an immersive, almost theatrical experience for viewers. Leonardo's experiments in fresco techniques, however, made the painting vulnerable to decay. He refused traditional fresco methods, mixing oil and temper to achieve delicate shading. The result, a masterpiece whose beauty would survive centuries but also endure fragility. Beyond painting, Leonardo's Milanese years were a laboratory of invention. He sketched plans for flying machines, armored vehicles, water-lifting devices, and complex mechanical contraptions. He studied anatomy in secret, dissecting corpses to understand the muscles and tendons that would inform both his art and designs. His notebooks from this period reveal meticulous observations, diagrams, and philosophical musings, the mind of a man unafraid to merge creativity with science. Court life in Milan was rife with intrigue. Ludovico Sforza's court was a nexus of power, where political alliances shifted rapidly. Leonardo's role was both advantageous and precarious. His talents made him indispensable, yet court politics demanded constant navigation. Projects were delayed or canceled. Funding fluctuated with political winds. Leonardo adapted by constantly moving between artistic, scientific, and engineering projects, leaving a trail of ideas, sketches, and inventions that sometimes outpaced his ability to realize them fully. Leonardo's genius was never content with completion alone. Every painting, machine, or anatomical study became an opportunity to explore further. He dissected human bodies not for medical practice, but to understand motion, structure, and function. He studied birds to imagine flight. He analyzed water currents to create more realistic depictions in painting and to conceptualize hydraulic machines. His notebooks are a testament to a mind that never paused. Spirals of sketches, mirrored handwriting, and interwoven ideas covering art, science, and philosophy. Even mundane subjects became subjects of fascination. He examined how light refracted through water, how plants grew toward sunlight, and how human expression conveyed emotion. For Leonardo, there was no boundary between curiosity and creation. Yet this period was not without frustration. Many of Leonardo's inventions were never built. Some commissions were delayed or abandoned. He often left works unfinished, a reflection not of negligence, but of relentless pursuit of perfection. Rivalries with other artists persisted. In Florence and Milan, envy simmered alongside admiration. Leonardo's perfectionism, coupled with the political and social turbulence of Renaissance Italy, created a constant tension between vision and reality, a tension that fueled both his brilliance and his restless spirit. By the end of his Milanese period, Leonardo had achieved fame and recognition, but his life remained a series of unfinished projects, unfulfilled experiments, and audacious ideas. It was a crucible of creativity, testing his patience, ambition, and resilience. Here, the stage was set for the pivotal moments that would define his later works, from the Mona Lisa to scientific treatises that would influence centuries. In the theaters of Florence and Milan, Leonardo da Vinci's genius unfolded like a story of fire and water. Brilliance tempered by challenge, creativity shaped by rivalry, curiosity boundless yet constrained by circumstance. Every sketch, every brushstroke, every mechanical diagram was a testament to a mind unwilling to accept limits, a spirit striving to touch the infinite. By the 1490s, Leonardo da Vinci had entered the pinnacle of his career. Years of study, observation, and experimentation had coalesced into a rare genius capable of reshaping art, science, and human understanding. This period marks the height of his creative power, a time when imagination met mastery, and every brushstroke and sketch carried revolutionary insight. Among Leonardo's crowning achievements stands the Mona Lisa. Painted in Florence, this portrait is more than a depiction of a woman. It is a study of the human soul, from the subtle smile that has perplexed viewers for centuries to the lifelike rendering of hands and skin. Leonardo achieved a realism and psychological depth unprecedented in portraiture. He used sfumato, a delicate blending of colors and shadows, to create transitions so smooth that the face seems to emerge naturally from the background, as if breathing. The identity of the sitter, Lisa Gherardini, adds another layer of mystery. Was she merely a merchant's wife, or did Leonardo imbue her with idealized qualities? Scholars debate even today, yet the power of the painting lies not in certainty, but in its subtle complexity. inviting endless curiosity. Pause. Soft SFX, turning pages. During this period, Leonardo's focus on the human form reached unprecedented heights. His anatomical studies were both artistic and scientific marvels. He dissected human bodies, producing detailed sketches of muscles, tendons, the vascular system, and the skeleton. Each diagram combined artistry with scientific precision, reflecting a mind that saw the body as a machine, a work of nature, and a vessel of expression. These studies were not mere curiosity. They informed his art. Leonardo understood how muscles flexed when a hand gestured, how light fell on the curvature of a face, and how the human form moved naturally in space. This synthesis of science and art became a hallmark of his genius, influencing not only his contemporaries but generations of artists and anatomists to come. Leonardo's imagination was never content with the earth. He was fascinated by flight. Long before airplanes existed, he sketched ornithopters, helicopters, gliders, and parachutes, meticulously studying the mechanics of birds. He observed how wings moved, how air currents behaved, and how feathers responded to motion. While many of his designs remained on paper, they demonstrated a visionary understanding of aerodynamics centuries ahead of his time. But Leonardo's ingenuity extended to more than flight. He envisioned armored vehicles, mechanical knights, bridges, water-lifting machines, and intricate gears and pulleys. Each invention reflected his method: meticulous observation, rigorous experimentation, and detailed documentation. Though most remained unbuilt, these designs reveal a mind capable of seeing possibilities far beyond the technological limits of the 15th century. Beyond the Mona Lisa, Leonardo produced works that define the era. The Last Supper in Milan remains a study in narrative tension and human psychology. Virgin of the Rocks, painted in multiple versions, explores composition, light, and the ethereal beauty of the natural world. Each piece carried layers of meaning: religious, philosophical, and scientific. Leonardo's patrons recognized his genius. Wealthy families, rulers, and religious institutions sought his work, commissioning paintings, designs, and architectural plans. Yet Leonardo often frustrated them with his slow pace. His perfectionism, combined with boundless curiosity, meant projects sometimes took years, and some were never completed. These unfinished works, however, still display extraordinary insight and vision. This was also a period of personal reflection for Leonardo. He understood the limits of human knowledge and sought to explore them through observation and documentation. He wrote, "Learning never exhausts the mind." Nature to him was the ultimate teacher. His notebooks reveal musings on the cosmos: light, water, anatomy, and motion. He measured, calculated, sketched, and questioned. Leonardo's curiosity was not bounded by discipline. Art, science, engineering, anatomy, mathematics, and philosophy all merged in his mind. He approached every problem holistically, believing that understanding one aspect of nature illuminated others. This polymathic vision became his signature, setting him apart from contemporaries who specialized narrowly. The climax of Leonardo's career is also marked by transitions and challenges. After years in Milan, political upheaval forced him to move again. He spent time in Florence and other Italian cities, responding to commissions, experimenting with science, and mentoring apprentices. His fame had grown beyond Italy, making him a figure of international renown. During these years, Leonardo also explored new media, experimenting with techniques in oil, tempera, fresco, and sculpture. Each experiment brought innovation, whether in capturing light, depicting emotion, or rendering natural landscapes. These pivotal moments of exploration, risk, and experimentation defined his legacy as a transformative figure in both art and science. Leonardo da Vinci, at the height of his powers, exemplified the Renaissance ideal: the unity of art, science, and philosophy. He demonstrated that human potential is boundless when curiosity, imagination, and discipline intersect. Every masterpiece, every sketch, every invention was a step toward understanding the universe and humanity's place within it. As Leonardo da Vinci entered the final decades of his life, his fame had spread far beyond the courts of Florence and Milan. He was celebrated not only as an unparalleled artist, but as a visionary mind, a polymath whose influence would stretch across centuries. Yet his later years were marked by reflection, experimentation, and the quiet pursuit of knowledge that had defined him from childhood. In 1516, Leonardo accepted an invitation from King Francis I of France, moving to the Château de Clos-Lucé near Amboise. By now, Leonardo was in his mid-60s, an age considered advanced in the 16th century. The French court provided comfort, resources, and respect. The king referred to him as premier painter and engineer and architect to the king, a testament to his multifaceted genius. Though his hands were older, his mind remained active. Leonardo continued to sketch, study, and advise. He collaborated with architects and engineers on plans for canals, bridges, and fortifications. His notebooks, already vast, continued to expand, containing observations, inventions, and philosophical reflections. Even in his later years, Leonardo's artistic output remained influential. The Mona Lisa, which he carried with him to France, became a symbol of his mastery. Its enigmatic smile, lifelike form, and subtle interplay of light and shadow fascinated both contemporaries and future generations. Beyond this, Leonardo left an indelible mark on art through technique and philosophy. His use of sfumato and chiaroscuro transformed portraiture, allowing artists to convey depth, emotion, and realism with unprecedented subtlety. His focus on anatomy, perspective, and naturalistic detail became foundational principles for generations of painters, sculptors, and draftsmen. Leonardo's notebooks, numbering nearly 13,000 pages, are perhaps his most enduring legacy. Though unpublished in his lifetime, they reveal a mind centuries ahead of his era. He documented principles of hydraulics, flight, anatomy, geology, and mechanics with painstaking detail. Engineers, scientists, and inventors would later rediscover these ideas, finding in Leonardo's observations a prescient understanding of nature and technology. His conceptual machines, flying devices, water-lifting pumps, armored vehicles, and intricate gears were often theoretical, but they inspired future innovation. Even today, modern engineers and aviators study his sketches to understand both mechanics and creative problem-solving. Leonardo showed that observation, creativity, and logic could combine to expand the boundaries of human achievement. Leonardo's approach to life, learning, and creativity remains profoundly influential. He exemplified curiosity without limits, blending art, science, and philosophy. He believed that careful observation of nature could reveal universal truths. "Study without desire spoils the memory," he wrote. Every sketch, experiment, or painting was a step toward understanding the world and humanity's place in it. His holistic view of knowledge, linking anatomy, engineering, art, and philosophy, created a model for interdisciplinary thinking centuries ahead of its time. Leonardo's mind was not compartmentalized. He saw the interconnectedness of all things. This approach has inspired countless thinkers, scientists, and artists, from the Renaissance to the present day. Immediately after his death in 1519, Leonardo's works and ideas were preserved and studied by apprentices, patrons, and scholars. Artists like Raphael and Michelangelo drew inspiration from his techniques. Engineers and anatomists studied his notebooks to refine their understanding of human anatomy, mechanics, and hydraulics. Over the centuries, his influence grew. In the 19th and 20th centuries, scientists, historians, and artists rediscovered Leonardo's writings, confirming his prescience and insight. The Mona Lisa became the world's most famous painting. His inventions and engineering sketches were examined and reconstructed, demonstrating their practicality and vision. Leonardo's legacy is not confined to one field. It spans art, science, engineering, anatomy, and philosophy. He remains the quintessential Renaissance man, a symbol of human potential. Leonardo spent his last days quietly in Amboise, sketching, advising, and reflecting. He continued to be fascinated by the world around him, the flight of birds, the play of light, the movement of water. When he passed away in 1519, he left behind an unfinished yet monumental body of work. Stories recount that King Francis I visited Leonardo shortly before his death, cradling the artist's head in his hands. a poignant image of respect and admiration. Leonardo da Vinci's life demonstrates that genius is not only talent, but curiosity, perseverance, and an unending desire to question the world. His art captures beauty, emotion, and human complexity. His inventions and studies push the boundaries of imagination. His notebooks reveal the depth of a mind constantly learning, observing, and imagining. Leonardo teaches us that observation, creativity, and knowledge are inseparable. That curiosity is a compass guiding us toward discovery, and that one individual, through relentless pursuit of understanding, can leave a mark on the world that lasts centuries. Leonardo da Vinci is gone, but his vision continues to soar. From the hills of Vinci to the courts of France, from the pages of his notebooks to museums worldwide, his legacy endures, reminding us that the human mind is capable of wonders beyond measure. If you found Leonardo's journey inspiring, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Explore the notebooks, visit the galleries, and let the genius of Leonardo da Vinci spark your own curiosity.